The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
What do you have to tell the people about Ras Tafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hail him high, hail the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come spread out them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion where come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come to tell them in a Toronto, straight at Italy. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome to Lion Talk Rasess Jahzani Kush. Rastafari.
Yes, hi, greetings and blessed love to Dejazmatch Kwasi.
Blessing.
It's an honor.
It is and I honor, and I would say the first time I met the eye, I didn't even realize I was meeting the eye, because I met the eye with Ras culture way back in the days.
Right.
He brought I around to the different brethren and sistren in South Florida, and we're gonna have Ras culture on here. He's a brethren, but that was I don't even remember. That was
Many eons ago.
Many eons ago. Could be a decade, 2 decades. So, but I started to hear about the eye, from sistren, and then of course the Emperor blessed I and I with Mama Walete, and that is when I really became aware more of the eye works, because she speaks so highly of the eye. So I just want the eye to introduce the eye self. Where were you born? Just give us some context before we get into the reasoning.
Yes, well, I'm a native of Miami, Florida.
Okay.
I know a lot of ones pass through and are transplanted, but I was born and bred in Miami. My parents are of African American heritage, so my roots are from the States. I came into the Liberty when I was 16. I'm 52 now. Okay. So that's been a while.
Proudly saying the age.
Oh, yes.
So I want to sister them, because sometimes you get into the age, it gets touchy, but you proudly.
Yes. Oh, no, right. I declare it. I give thanks for it.
Give thanks.
And I'm an educator.
Yes.
My primary area is education. Middle school, high school, the university. Now, though, at this stage of my life, I like to proclaim that I'm a philosopher.
Okay.
My first degree is in philosophy, and I find that now with my work in Rastafari, it has become quite philosophical, especially like you mentioned, coining blue fire, which is not only philosophical but also metaphysical.
Okay.
The founder, like I said, of the Haile Selassie First Learning Center in Miami, which was one of the first institutions of its kind. I realized that there was a dearth of institutions primarily for Rastafari youth, and wanted to be able to provide that. That's been established for about 20 years now.
Beautiful. We're going to talk about institution building. That's one of I passion. So
good.
We definitely will touch on that.
And so Lalibela Institute is the sister organization of the Haile Selassie First Learning Center. Again, another organization that was set out for educating. However, the focus has changed primarily from that of educating youth to educating the first educators. And that is the woman, the Rastafari woman.
Beautiful.
So that's happening.
So you have no Caribbean background?
No.
And this is very important, because I want to establish Rastafari is not just from the Caribbean. How do you feel about this term FBA, ADOS? Are you familiar with those terms?
No, I'm not.
So ADOS is American descendants of slaves, and FBA is Foundational Black Americans. But there's a movement in America where people, Africans born in America, are saying we were here before slavery. They're claiming their reparation.
they feel like people who have immigrated here kind of take the shine from African Americans. But since you don't know, we won't go too deep.
Right.
But just to bring your awareness, so it's something that,
I've heard of it.
Yes.
I didn't know the acronyms that went along with the ideology that you're talking about. But just briefly to give my input on that, I think that it's important that we as African people keep our focus on the continent.
Nice.
There's no sense in struggling for America. You know, she's gone down. It's a wrap.
Okay.
You know, so I've I hear one's reason about it, but I'm not on that bandwagon.
Give thanks. I just wanted to be clear because like I said, I think Rastafari has not fully hit the youth of America. I've said this I've come in the chart that the day that it really take root here, it's sealed up, for Babylon, because African American culture is the most influential culture on the planet. That's without, and I say that as a Jamaican born.
Right.
I say we run second place. In terms of the cultural impact globally.
Right.
But I don't think we can take away from that impact. So with this movement rising up, I haven't heard about it in Rastafari, but I know that Rastafari from this country have a role in making sure that the youth of this country are really getting that message, like you say, unfiltered repatriation. So what was it like growing up in South Florida? Give us some context, before you became Rastafari, what was your life like? And then take us into the first time you became aware of the Emperor, Ethiopia, and just that journey.
Well, I was raised by my grandparents, middle class family. I had a very wonderful childhood. I don't know. I think around the age of 16 is when I began my major identity formation and began to really ask myself questions regarding what was womanhood and what type of woman I wanted to emulate or I wanted to become. And so, a lot of the things that I considered superficial, I began to kind of discredit them or discard them. I realized I no longer wanted to wear makeup. I no longer wanted to perm my hair. I always laugh and tell people that I was one of those women, when you get a perm, you really shouldn't get a perm any less than a month. So you get a perm once a month. So I was one of those sisters that I didn't even let a knot or a nap form. So I always said I like my hair fried, dyed, and laid to the side. It's always really.
And this was up to 15, 16.
Right, exactly. And that was, primarily because of the input of my family. That type of beauty standard was pushed. And there just came a time I remember just seeing, I didn't see the Rastafari woman first. I remember seeing a Rasta man and just looking and saying, wow, that's different. Look at his locks, look at his hair. And I decided, what if I abandon, my standards of beauty, which are based on my family standards, and just let me be me, And I remember looking in the mirror for the first time with no lipstick and just not even being able to handle that, because I really like red lipstick. And I remember just saying to myself, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. I remember not, having the perm and my mother being almost horrified. She brought me maybe 20 head wraps and said, if you're going to do this dreadlocks thing, please at least wear your head cover. So I remember going through that metamorphosis and, just at some point just saying, you know what, I'm comfortable with who I am. And it was just so liberating.
Give us a context. What was the date? 80s, 70s? When are we talking about?
Yeah, about 1986. About 1980. And I remember all of my friends. I was the only Rasta person, not male or female, just person, right? At my high school. And I remember my friends thinking that I had lost it. I lost friends. People were like, what's going on with her? She's going through some type of crisis. But it was worth it because I began to do a lot of introspection as a result of that isolation. And so I know myself as a result of that.
So in terms of this, what was that catalyst that made you say, I'm not just going to be conscious, but was it seeing that Rastafari man image that just flipped the switch that made you?
Well, that's what struck my curiosity.
Okay.
And then being an avid reader.
Okay.
I remember someone bringing me a book on Bob Marley's life, one of his autobiographies. And I remember reading it and going, wow, so this is really interesting. So I also traveled to Jamaica for the first time by myself at 16.
Wow.
Yeah, which was really, every time I think about that, my mother was very free-spirited, and I just can't believe she allowed me to do that. I went to Reggae Sunsplash.
Oh, wow. You didn't know anyone?
Well, you know how it is when someone has a room that they rent. So a friend of my mother had a room, but I didn't know the person.
Okay.
Nonetheless, I went, I had my experience, and I remember, and this is kind of funny. You know, when you come into Rastafari, there are things that you slowly let go.
Yeah.
I don't think I had let go flesh yet, but I said I was Rasta, you know. Yeah. So I remember knowing that I should not be eating meat, but when I went to Jamaica, I said I can't fake the funk. These people expect a Rasta person not to eat flesh. Yeah. So I stopped eating meat in Jamaica.
Nice.
And I remember coming back home and being afraid to tell my mother, because the lox was one thing, but we were foodies together. And so she would always offer me foods that were my favorite. And then slowly but surely she said, really? So now you're not eating meat, you know? So yeah, just different things were a catalyst.
And did you grow up in a two-parent home, or was just you and your mother? Or your
I was raised by my grandparents.
So it was a grandfather, grandmother in the home.
And my mother was very active.
Okay. So in terms of, did that start causing a rift? Because this is a story that a lot of Rastafari face. You embrace the trad, and then that separate, either your parents are trying to convert you back, they kick you out. You know, what was your
I mean, like? Being an only child and being a girl, I wasn't going to get kicked out. And there really wasn't a rift. I think because I am an African born in America, there was more confusion. They were really baffled.
Why are you taking these people's culture over your own culture?
Exactly. So, but you know, after a while, I can say that everybody came around, because what choices they have, really, honestly.
And it's last said the first of the Almighty. When they are set thrones of judgment to judgment, thrones of the house of the great King David, I shall pray for the peace of Ethiopia and Africa. Well, every night, argument, morning come, sorry about an argument. No make your heart get hard like some sexy men. Black woman got to exercise patience. Every night, argument, morning come, sorry about an argument. No make your heart get hard like some sexy men. Black man got to exercise patience. Got to change the frequency. Seems like we disagree frequently. Mama shopping spree interfere with school fee. Daddy they a dance a floss for Hennessy. Every night them fight mostly over money. Who gonna stand up fight for the family? Haile Selassie, might of the Trinity. Gone with his queen with a baby in her belly. Still every night argument, morning come, sorry about an argument. Don't make your heart get hard like some sexy men. Black woman got to exercise patience. Every night argument, morning come, sorry about an argument. No make your heart get hard like some sexy men. Black man got to exercise patience. There's no need to raise your voice. Let's live in a one harmony. Together we can make that choice to live as one family. And please don't disturb the children's sleep. Be careful what you say, remember words cut deep. Sometimes it's better if you just sit in silence. Time to end this cycle of violence.